Backstage Chatter fans. It's me again, your host, Jackie Hardy. We're so glad to be bringing our Performing Arts Fort Worth series as we highlight the upcoming 2025 Broadway at the Bass season presented by PNC Bank. In this segment of Backstage Chatter, we are delighted to be speaking with the talented Robert Valderas. In this segment, he discusses his role in the what Washington Post deemed electrifying musical Ain't Too Proud: The Life and Times of the Temptations. He talks about what it's like to be a swing, as well as his ties to the Dallas area. In addition, he shares his love and appreciation for the Temptations and what that's like to now be a part of this show. Remember, you can see Ain't Too Proud: The Life and Times of the Temptations from February 11th through February 16th at the Bass Performance Hall. You can head over to basshall.com/Ain't Too Proud for ticket information. Thanks for watching. So thank you, Mr. Robert Valderas. It's such an honor to be able to speak with you. And I am excited too because you are homegrown. You are in Dallas. Yes, that is always
Yes.
something that we get excited about. And I always like to start off our interview by, if you would, just kind of share a little bit about your background here in Dallas and then kind of what began your love for the arts, performing arts, and just your professional academic training. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so um where I'm from. Um so I originally moved out to Dallas because during the pandemic,
Okay.
my aunt owned this MCI Diagnostics COVID lab,
Oh,
and my dad was the GM, and I actually got to, I was in the front lines. I was swabbing people's noses during the pandemic, and I was like accessioning like data and stuff. So I came to Dallas because we moved from Tulsa, Oklahoma to Dallas.
oh,
Um,
wow.
and that's just been my like home because
Oh,
that's where family is. But I
wow.
actually had an interview in like the Fort Worth area about it was on Spectrum News. It was like breakthrough COVID cases, and he was asking me about it, and it was really funny. I was
Oh
like, oh
my
my goodness.
gosh.
I was like, I can't believe I'm doing like I was like working in the front lines during the pandemic.
What?
But I actually moved to Oklahoma City for musical theater for college. But I've
Okay.
always flown home for Dallas because that's like where home is, where my family is.
Okay.
And I went to school for musical theater at the University of Central Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And I actually kickstarted my career really doing musical theater truly my
Okay.
freshman year. And I've been in shows like every semester because UCO was a really great university. It actually pushed me to be on stage. So every semester I was in a production or two sometimes.
Okay.
And I was very blessed. I've had a very like I had Sister Act that was first, and I actually was involved with the Polar Express for a little bit.
Okay.
It was like a train ride for the Christmas season,
Yeah.
and I did this like Oklahoma professional gig. It was like River City. It was like a rock
Yeah.
and roll show. And
Okay.
that's all led me to this. And I was about to start my senior year of college, and there was an Eddie Kendricks listing on Actors Access, and my friend had sent it to me. He was like, "Hey, like you should submit for this," because my friend Heath Rawls, he's from McKinney.
Shout out, Heath.
Yeah, he shout out to Heath
That's
because
right.
he sent me auditions like all year. Like I actually did a summer gig in Massachusetts with him because he was like, "Hey, submit for this," and
He's like your
we
unofficial agent, right?
yes, yes. And
Um,
hopefully he sees this because like shout out to Heath. But
you have to share.
yeah. Yeah, I sure will.
Yeah.
But August, it was in January. It was in not January, excuse me.
That's
Sorry.
okay. I'm
I'm
sure
so
it's
excited.
all right, all running together because it's happening so fast for you. Yeah.
Oh, yes, it was such a quick turnaround because
Yeah.
I had just finished Legally Blonde at school in May. Heath was in that show with me. And then
Okay.
we went straight to Massachusetts to do a show in May as well.
Okay.
And then in June I did Mary Poppins with Adriana Hicks, who was on Six on Broadway. And
Yeah.
that was in Oklahoma City. And
Okay.
then I came back to Dallas. I was at home for a little bit. I was spending time with family. And
Yeah.
then Heath hit me with that, and I was like, "Oh, maybe I should submit for it." I was like, I don't know, because I've always wanted to play Eddie Kendricks. That's like my dream role, and this is my dream
Right.
show. So I was like,
Listen,
I kind of doubted myself a little bit, but part of me was just like, just show what you
go for
have,
it.
and then if they like
Yes.
you, then So I submitted for it, and then they asked me to come to New York, and I was in a callback group with 7 people, and
But Robert,
like
that is awesome.
it was a huge blessing. And I met Lowe's
Yes.
Moore, who's the full-time Eddie Kendricks on tour with me. I actually
Yes.
just bumped into him. He's the sweetest guy ever.
Yes.
He has been a really good mentor for me
I'm
on tour.
sure. Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's
I
like school
remember,
in and of itself, I'm sure. You know what I mean? Because you're getting
yeah,
practical. Yeah.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
never forget. We were in this holding room like this before we go audition. And everybody else is like singing through their songs or whatever, and I was just like kind of nervous to like sing through my stuff in front of other people because I was like, I don't want anybody to think I'm like showboating, but I'm kind of nervous, like I kind of want to
Sure.
practice. And like
Yeah.
Lowe's and I were just in the room together, and he was like, hey, like he was like, you can sing through your stuff, like go get your part, like you got this. Like he was being really encouraging, and I was like,
Like a big
man,
brother almost.
yeah,
Like, yeah.
that's the perfect
Yeah.
way to describe Lowe's. He's literally Big Brother.
That,
And he told me to go in there, and I was the last of the day.
yeah.
And my dad got me this suit. He was like, "You're gonna wear a full suit and you're gonna pick out your hair." And I went in there and I
You
gave what I
killed it.
had.
Listen, yeah, you killed it because you wouldn't be where you were if you didn't. That is awesome.
Thank
And
you.
knowing that you have Oklahoma ties, that really also resonates with me because I'm an Oklahoma gal. So,
Really, me too.
yes, yes, I did not know that. I apologize. I thought you grew up primarily in the Dallas area, so I did not know that so you kind of started in Oklahoma. Is that correct?
hmm
Yeah, and
It's weird because I've moved around so much because my
okay.
dad is a Marine,
Yeah. Well,
and he
shout
started
out
doing
to your
car
pop.
sales. Yes,
Yeah,
thank you for his
that's
service.
right. That's exactly
Um, he started doing car sales, and he moved us. Like I lived in Arizona briefly, like Texas,
okay.
Oklahoma, but Texas is
The
basically
home
home for
base.
me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, that
hmm
is so neat. And to kind of know how, your journey was a little different.
Yes.
I love that. So often, I am always fascinated with how, you know, every situation and experience is a stepping stone, right, to where you're supposed
Yes.
to be. Yeah. And so even though it may not be ideally what, you see yourself doing long term, it plays a purpose. Yeah.
Yes.
You swabbing noses, right?
Yes.
You're
Yes.
swabbing the mic. I
And
love that.
I feel like doing that made me so much of a people person because I was swabbing like a
Good
thousand
point.
people a day in their
Yeah,
cars.
sure.
Like, and
And I'm
that
sure
really
you were
got me.
character studying. What a great way to study, you know what I'm saying? Different characters and draw from.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah. The amount of interactions I've had, I was like,
Oh,
"Hi, how
I'm
are you
sure.
doing?" Or
Right.
like if they're having a bad day, I'm like, "Hi, how are you doing?" Like it was just
That's awesome.
a different situation. I can't believe I'm doing what I'm doing now, though. I'm
That is
extremely
awesome.
blessed to be where I am with this
Yeah.
group of people. As far
Yeah.
as like where I was before this tour, like I had to uh I think August 7th I figured out I booked the show. So I had to come back home, pack, move out of my house in Oklahoma the next week, and then that weekend I came to New York for rehearsals for 3 weeks.
That is very fast,
It was
right?
a quick
Like,
turnaround.
yeah, seriously. No, that is so cool. And I was going to ask you because this is your official first national debut tour.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what has surprised you about being on this tour? Whether even what has surprised you about yourself? Are you like, I enjoy going to a different city every year? I mean, every week, excuse me. Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah. Is there something that's really kind of surprised you that you weren't expecting, whether it's about yourself or just the tour in general?
I will say I've learned so much being on tour. I'm still learning. I've never learning too
Mhm.
much, but I love, just traveling. I didn't realize because I've only been to like 5 states my whole life. So
Sure.
I've always wanted to travel the country, and I'm finally getting to travel the country. I'm getting to be a swing. I've never been a swing before,
Yeah.
which I'll get to that soon, but that's
Sure.
my position in the show.
Yeah.
And that's been a huge difference because that's like honestly, it's a really respected, like high stakes position in the field that we're in.
So
And it's a lot
right.
of pressure and a lot of reliance on us. So it's
Yeah.
kind of nice. It feels like we're superheroes. Like if they
Yes.
if they need our help, they call us. And
That's
then
exactly
until
right.
then, we're just waiting to be ready. We have to be always be ready. And
That segues into my next question that yes, you have the swing role, which I'm
Mhm.
always like that. I'm impressed beyond impressed with that because you're managing. How many roles are you managing? Are you just, and that's still a lot.
Oh,
Uh,
so I
yeah,
cover three roles.
that's what I thought. Okay, yeah, typically, how do you manage that? Going from, listen, yeah, school to here you are on the national stage and you got to be ready at any given moment, to go out there. Yeah,
Well, to be honest with you, I just have to put my faith in God
that's good.
because
Oh, I heard
because
that.
a lot of this, like when I went on the first time, I was like, Lord, please guide my steps, please
Take the
make the
wheel.
show. Yes. And I made it through, but I
Yeah,
cover Eddie Kendricks, who's one of the Temptations, the Just My
absolutely.
Imagination.
Yes.
And I also play Smokey Robinson slash Damon Harris, which is one track in itself. One like Act One is Smokey Robinson, and Act Two is Damon Harris, which is like Damon Harris is the one that replaces Eddie Kendricks in the group. When
Yeah.
that new era after like Paul Williams and Eddie leaves, it's like Richard Street and Damon Harris. So I play him, and then I also play Barry Gordy, which is like the head of Motown. And honestly,
Wow.
I love this show so much. I saw the show twice, and I'm actually wearing, I did this on purpose. I wore the outfit that I wore when I saw the show for the first time,
Oh,
in Tulsa,
because that's
Oklahoma.
sentimental, I'm sure, to you. Yeah.
Yes, it means the world to me because this is my dream show.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, like I want to be on Hamilton, I want to be on Lion King. Like this is my Lion King, this is my Hamilton.
Why is
Like
this your dream show? I would love for you to share
I
with our audience.
I love the Temptations, and as a black man,
Come
just
on.
being a part of a show like this is so important to me.
About
I've never been able to be in a position like this before, so it's
sure.
just it's everything I could ever want. It's musical. You can dance and use your rhythm and jive a little bit, but you also, you can act and ground yourself and all the Temptations music. Like I have a 7 hour and 5 minute playlist of the Temptations on my phone. Like
Oh my goodness.
I'm obsessed with the Temptations and I've researched them for years.
Yeah.
And just to finally come full circle and finally be a part of this,
It's
I could name you
like
so
the
many Eddie
pinnacle.
Kendricks songs and David Ruffin solo records. Like I'm obsessed with it.
So there is a personal connection, sure. Did you grow up with your parents listening to it? Like, kind of what
Honestly,
started that love for I mean, I'm with you on that because that's my girl. Papa was a Rolling Stone. I mean, the list goes on and on. I understand. Yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, what kind of started that personal
Well,
affection and connection? Yeah.
I have grown up like listening to the Temptations. Like my dad would play, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, the
Mhm.
Temptations. But as I became older, I've discovered this myself. Like I know Men of Honor, I believe, that movie
The
where
Cuba.
there's like a Navy SEAL training scene after he has like this horrific accident and it's like I wish it would rain is in that workout like
Exactly.
montage.
Yeah.
And that I think the movie's called My Girl, but the two little kiddos that are like little lovebirds, they're little friends. It's
Right.
that My Girl's in that movie as well. So like I've heard all of these songs before, but as I become older, I've really discovered music. And like as I started doing musical theater, I really started diving into real like what I consider real music. So like
Yeah.
Motown, like
Sure.
70s, not like 80s rock and stuff like that. Like I've just really delved in and found as
Right.
much as I can, and I've researched so much, and I just love this music.
Yeah, sure.
Like I cherish it. I think like music is my life. I love the Temptations music as well. And that music, I'll just never get tired of it. I listen to it all the time, like even now
No,
still.
that's right. And as you continue to live, when you've lived life, those lyrics have a hit differently,
They
right?
really, they really
As you
resonate
mature.
with
I
me.
totally get that.
Yes, like I've listened to all their love songs, all of their heartbreak songs,
That's right.
and every second of like, it really
You
does
tap
fit
into
every
those
part.
emotions. Yeah,
Yeah, for
absolutely.
sure.
I was going to ask you, how does that personal connection help you even in your acting? Because inevitably, if you're connecting personally, that translates to the audience, right?
hmm
Does that been really helpful for you, would you say?
I
Yeah.
will say, the one thing that I've learned being on tour is I haven't really performed in like intimate spaces in a while, but there was this summer gig that I did where actually I will say the first time that I performed a Temptation song ever was the summer of 2022, I believe.
Okay.
It was a summer gig. We were doing a rock and roll show, and I was singing "I Can't Get Next to You," and I sang the Eddie Kendricks part in the song.
Okay.
And my friend Lamar Burns was the Dennis Edwards part, and we were singing through the song or whatever, and we had the white jackets on, and we was performing or whatever. And little did I know I would be playing Eddie Kendricks, like doing that. So I Can't Get Next to You was like my favorite number because I was like, I can't believe I'm doing like it actual in context. And I feel like the acting, like you said, to answer your question, um, just taking that acting, like, Eddie's character
Okay.
in the show is more of like a, well, actually, I don't want to spoil it, but Eddie's
Yeah.
character has a whole growth in the show. And
Yeah.
it's when I saw the show, I was like, oh, I didn't know that Otis perceived Eddie Kendricks like that because this show is told from Otis's point of view.
Point
It's
of view.
honestly like roughly based around his book that
Sure.
he wrote.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Absolutely.
try to gather that and I try to play off of everybody else's emotions that are in the scene with me. And I feel like I really try to get into the context and looking at people while I perform really helps. Because
Sure.
they were
Feed off
performing
of
and they
that.
were yeah, they were looking at people and they were smiling and I love to smile at people. Like everybody
Yeah.
knows that.
Oh, you can just
I
tell you exude joy. You really do, Robert. I'm serious.
Thank you.
And I know as we talked about I think it's a critic's pick, New York Times, right? Called
Hmm.
it's perfection. I think is the quote. It's pretty
Yeah,
close to perfection. And I would love to hear your take on why do you think that? Because what I see about it is that it really does humanize these icons, right, that we grew up and we tend to idolize to the point where we kind of deify them and not realize that they are humans. They have their personal struggles, demons,
yeah,
if you will. And you got to think about too, this was some hard times politically, right?
for sure.
Right,
Yes.
right, being an African American.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and so can you kind of speak to, yeah, just how this production musical really does humanize them and also transports you back to those times to where you really are kind of walking those emotions out with them, as it's happening.
Yes. I will say, yeah, yes, you're familiar with the five heartbeats,
Oh
correct?
yeah. Oh yeah, one of my favorites. Yeah.
If you can recall the bus scene where they're talking about the record of, like the picture of the record that couldn't be used on the picture because of
Picture.
the
Uh-huh.
times back then.
Okay.
There's a similar scene to that
Yeah.
on the bus
Oh,
in the show. And it really resonates with me. That's one thing that I really pull from, that I really feel like I'm in the times in that moment because, you know, unfortunately for young African Americans, there's a time where we have been a little bit, you know, discriminated,
absolutely.
and,
Oh yeah,
profiled.
during the civil rights movement, sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I've
Mhm.
experienced
Still now.
little nuances of feeling, you
Yeah,
know, disrespected for my blackness and just treated
absolutely.
wrongly. So it was nowhere near the level of what they dealt with, but I try to really pull through that scene with my emotions because it really gets me. I'm like, man, I feel like, getting at a hotel in Houston, I was like somebody like thought that I was homeless because I was on the phone with my girlfriend in the lobby at the time and like tried to call the police on me. I was like, oh, my dad's upstairs. She was like, you don't have a room
Right.
here. And like was just like, just being rude to me for no reason. But
Sure.
like the bus scene that they go through is really, really heartbreaking. And they have this real moment
Mm,
of, the civil rights movement and the times, the crossover to the South and
yeah.
how they should work through that.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, and then they have their own personal struggles on top of that, right?
yes,
Yeah,
Paul.
exactly. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Paul, Eddie, Eddie
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
smoking issue.
Right.
Paul
Yeah,
had a drinking issue. David was
exactly.
going through multitude of things.
Yes.
Melvin was going through some health issues later on in his career.
Right.
And Otis really held that group together, I will say.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. He was
and
definitely the patriarch, if you will.
yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
Of
And
the
their struggles, yes. I've been trying to find moments in the show that I can try to like foreshadow in my head, like
mm.
try and really show Eddie's growth of like, oh, I need to go take a smoke. Like I can't do this. Like, like
Yeah,
I've been
sure.
trying to mentally, because there's not really moments in the script for us to do that, but mentally I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, oh, Eddie's going to get a smoke because he's frustrated with the group, when I leave the stage. Or
Yeah.
like I try to add little elements like that.
Sure. No,
Um,
that's
but
good.
Chess, do you think I fully answered your question? I would like to answer it fully if I
Absolutely.
didn't.
Yeah, no, because you are you're giving kind of a peek into, you know what I'm saying? There's a public persona and then there's that private persona. And I
Yes.
think that this musical does a beautiful job of really showing that personal, right, aspect of it. I mean, I know there's been movies in the book, but when you see it live like that, it really is more tangible. That it's palpable what you experience and feel, and
Yes.
then it really kind of gives you a sense of compassion because you're like, wow, this is what all they were going through while performing, for thousands of people. Yeah, and having it show
Yes.
up like that. That is we do that today, right? Even our own life.
Hmm.
I think that's where people that connection happens, wouldn't you say? That human connection, yeah, that you feel.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, kind of transitioning, they are, of course, their brand is their dance moves, right? That's part of not
Yes.
only their brilliant, of course, voices. And so how hard was that? Was that hard kind of
Oh.
getting those numbers down? Because I mean, you're doing the temptation, so you kind of like, what I'm saying? That pressure, I'm sure, is up there.
Yes. So Sergio Trujillo was our Tony
For
Award-winning choreographer. He
yeah.
actually was in the room with us when we learned this choreography.
Okay.
And oh my goodness, it was I loved it. It was so exciting because we had 3 weeks to put the show together. And luckily I didn't have to learn the music because I had already like I know this music like frontwards and backwards.
Exactly.
But the
You could probably
dancing
choreograph.
who
You know,
knows? Maybe, hopefully, but
that's right.
like learning these dances. Oh, I will say that first week, I was staying until like 8 o'clock at night at the studio we were rehearsing at, and like by myself, just doing it over and over and over again until I did got it because like I pick up dances quick usually, but
Yeah.
this is like next level stuff.
Wow.
So like I really wanted to make sure every angle was sharp, everything was because I really did work my hardest to get this because it was the swings we had to work really hard because we weren't on our feet all the time. So we had to take videos and had to practice on our own. So I made sure I got that because I did not want to play catch up because I'm 21, I'm the youngest in the cast, so I
Wow.
didn't necessarily want to. I wanted to hold myself to a really high standard because this is the this is the big leagues for me, you know.
That,
I'm just grateful to be here with all these
that
talented people.
speaks
So
volumes. Wow. Yeah.
I was just very grateful to be there and learning these dances was really fun. I wish I wish I could go back and learn them
Oh,
again. They
wow.
were
I bet. And I bet it's physically, it's taxing. Yeah.
Oh
Mhm.
yes, I remember
Right.
last time I went on, we were in Galveston, Texas, and we were doing the finale dancing, and I'm I'm dancing so hard that I'm like doing the slide, and then my leg is like cramping up. I'm like,
I gotta
oh,
keep it going.
and I just keep dancing, and then we finish it, and I'm just
Oh
like,
my
oh my
gosh.
goodness,
Yeah, I
like
bet.
I'm using my whole body. And I just love this show so much that I just give it all I have when I go on because whenever swings go on, you don't really know when you go on
Go
next.
on. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
really do try to go as hard as I can because
That's
I
awesome.
love this. I love this show, and
You
I just I love it. I can watch it every day. I do watch I
Yeah,
do watch it
you
every day.
do. That's right. Every day, every week.
Yes,
No,
yes.
I love that you're so in the moment. You're taking it all in because that's so important. Yeah,
Oh,
I
yes,
think that
because
is.
Lord
Yeah,
knows where I was last year, struggling to pay rent in college,
right.
and I will say that I gotta accredit college musical theater programs because my musical theater program was so hard because we had piano class, like theater class, like music theory,
Wow.
extraterrestrial, not extraterrestrials,
It felt
extracurriculars.
like that, I'm sure.
Yes, we had all of these. So I have all these classes. I have assignment at 9, assignment at 10. I have to do this. I have to perform this 6-minute song at this class. I have to do this. I have to be piano. I have to be at this class. And then from 6 o'clock to 10 p.m., I have to be at school rehearsing some musical that the school is putting up. So all of that mumbo jumbo of like, oh my gosh, like
Mhm.
I don't know what to do next. Like all that
Yeah,
stressful situations that I went through in college really prepared me for
prepared.
swinging. Because
Absolutely.
because if I didn't experience that, I would not I would have struggled so hard with
Absolutely.
the
Yeah,
swing stuff because we had to
sure.
sit there. We had to know all of their blocking as they're learning it on their feet. We had to write down like you go here, you go here, you go here. In
Yeah.
this move, you go here. You have to.
Sure.
and we can't always get on our feet and do it. So you have to really write it down
Sure.
or
No,
else you
there's a
won't.
discipline that you were able to, I'm sure, yeah,
Yes. And
take
like,
away from those.
I'm just very blessed from where I came from because like, college really set me up for that. As
Yeah,
overwhelming as college musical theater classes and things were, like it
sure.
really prepared me for this. And my
That's,
parents tried to tell me I was like stressed out. They're like, it's okay, like this is gonna help you for what you're gonna do next.
that's right.
And I was like,
So
well,
true. Yeah,
I just
absolutely. No, it is all part of the process. Yeah, to
hmm
you developing. Yeah,
for
and
sure.
that's right. And certainly calling out that greatness that sometimes you don't know you have until you're in those situations, you know?
I
That's
will
right.
say, God really got me through this rehearsal
Yeah.
process. It
That's
was it was
yeah.
incredible. Like the
No.
amount of things I learned, I'm honestly proud of our entire company. Like we all put in that work those past 3 weeks in New York. It
Yeah.
was it was it was hard, but here we are.
That's right. It's paying off. That's it. And my final question I'd love to ask you, this musical Ain't Too Proud. It is packing out stages, show after show, right? Why do
Yes.
you think that? That people are just, I know aside from the music, right?
Yes.
But yeah, is there, just love to hear your thoughts on that. Like, why do you think people want to come? Even is there a message that typically people are able to say, you know what, that is applicable for me even right now, you
Oh
know,
yes.
some of the messages. Yeah. Do you think that's why? What is your reason? You think that people just love the show? Yeah.
My reasoning, I would say, whenever I first saw the show, I was like trying to see shows that I could really see myself being in
Mhm.
because you know, auditioning's hard and flying up to New York isn't that easy. So I have to make sure that I can really do what's in the show before I try and audition for something.
Yeah.
So I was seeing the show for studying, really, like this is homework.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think I was thinking about this earlier while we were discussing. I would say that this musical is the Temptations movie for people that haven't seen it, like
Mhm.
that don't know exist. They like come see the show thinking like, oh, I have season ticket passes for this theater, and they have like a pleasant surprise of like, oh my goodness, I didn't know that Otis, this story centered around Otis, and like he's telling his story point of view about the Temptations, and I didn't know David Ruffin went through that struggle, and I didn't know that that's how they all that's how their stories were told at the end. Like, and
Sure.
I feel like people are surprised. I was surprised. I didn't know that Otis was even going to be like a front leading like storyteller in the show. I thought it was just going to be boom, Eddie sings this, boom, Paul sings this,
Right.
like, but
Yeah.
it's a continued like story and it's honestly like a shocker. So I feel like people go expecting like this Temptations
Yeah.
musical and stuff, but it's like an actual story and
Yeah.
it
Sounds like a
uses their
master class, right? On,
yes,
yeah.
and it
Yeah.
uses their stories,
Oh my
like it uses their songs to catapult them through each time and era. And the messages are, oh, there's so many great messages in this show.
Yeah.
There's
What
there's
would you
one
say?
quote.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could say it, but it's in the show and it's like oh, like every time the character says it, everyone in the audience is like, oh.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. I was like, wow, I've never heard a quote like that before.
Sure.
Um, and I just feel like it really resonates with you. And the finale, like it ends kind of brim, but then the finale like leaves you with hope. Like
That's
it's not
a
like
good
a
message.
because of course the Temptations went out really sadly, and Otis, thank God, Otis Williams is still alive and
Right.
he's still on tour, and
Yeah.
we actually got to see him. But
Yeah.
um, I just feel like no matter how they went out, it really leaves you with a like celebration of life at the end. Like the
Wow.
finale is just this big,
That's
just
good.
celebration of life,
Yeah.
big, everybody's up clapping. Like
Right.
it's a beautiful way to end the show. That's my favorite finale I think I've ever seen because
Mhm.
it leaves you with happiness in your heart
Yeah.
after such of like a sad
And that's what music
story.
does to some degree, right?
Music
Yeah.
music gives me so
That's
much joy. I
right.
love music.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
No, and it unifies us, right? And
It
so
really does bring us
that's
together.
right. So I definitely love that, the message of hope. I think that is so good and so apropos even in today's times.
Today's world, yes, of
Right. We
course.
all need that. Yeah. Hope is never out of style for sure. And do you have family that are going to be able to come and see the show while you're here?
Yes, so the tricky part about being a swing is I'll get called at like 9 or 10 a.m.
Right.
and they'll be like, "Hey, you're
Last
going,
minute.
can you be Eddie Kendricks today?" And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, "Of course." And then I check my phone and I'm in like, I don't know, North Carolina. I'm like, "Dad, can you find a flight to get here by 6 o'clock?" He's like, "I can't."
Oh,
But luckily, thank God, my grandparents and my parents actually I got called to go on in Galveston, Texas. So they
that,
all just drove up there
that's great.
because we were all in Texas.
Sure. Yeah.
So my
Yeah.
grandparents and my aunt got to come see the show for the first show. I had a two-show day, so my grandparents and
Oh,
aunt saw the first show, and
awesome.
then my parents and my little sister got to see the second show. And I wanted to cry. Like
Oh, cool.
there's this moment in the show where Otis is talking to the audience and the Temptations are facing the back, and he's basically saying like, there have been 27 Temptations and we're still going strong.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I almost started crying because I was like, I love the Temptations so much, but like I'm continuing. I feel like this show continues their legacy. Like
Mhm.
it really does tell their story. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
and I
And to
feel like I'm
share
a
that
part of it.
moment with your family that have been a part of this journey to get you to where you are.
Yeah.
That's a full circle. Listen, I am so excited for you, Robert, and
Thank
we
you.
are cheering you on both my Oklahoma side and now I live in the Dallas Fort Worth area, so that side as well.
Yes, ma'am.
But yeah, I know that the sky is the limit for you. Listen, and
Thank you.
more opportunities are coming your way. I have no doubt.
Oh, thank you. I really
Uh,
appreciate
So
that.
thank you for your time. I wish you all the best. Yeah, and everybody just needs to come and see this, listen, masterpiece. Ain't too proud. What a fun conversation with again the talented Robert Valderas. We also hope after seeing our interview, it's got you excited about wanting to see the New York Times critics pick Ain't Too Proud, the life and times of the Temptations. Remember, you can see this production that's part of the 2024-25 Broadway at the Bass season presented by PNC Bank at the Bass Performance Hall. You can also head over to basshall.com/ ain't too proud for ticket information. Remember, go get those tickets and I'll see you at the theater. Thanks again for watching. Bye bye.